that report. In fact, it was more than 6 actually. Looking into soil, rivers, and others, most importantly, the food that's readily available for us to eat. And very worrying concerns in terms of what it is that they found. Higher lead levels, elevated widespread arsenic levels, cadmium concerns, widespread contamination, even in fish. That's the resultant effect of illegal mining. And that's the conversation we'll be getting into to start off with for today. Then we'll get into the court as well. We'll lawyer ourselves more. Wear robes and begin to break down legal terms and jargons, why the Attorney General says someone has to go to the Supreme Court, amongst many other things. But you are part of the conversation as always. Do leave a message for us on all of our socials. Use the hashtag 3FM Sunrise. But Helen, I don't know if you've seen that report. Obviously, we've had, a fair understanding of the fact that, look, a lot of what we eat, a lot of our water resources are contaminated. But now we're beginning to get a lot more evidence in terms of the dangers of Galamsey every now and then. And this is the latest report by the EPA in conjunction with, let me try and just get the names, the UK International Development and then Pure Earth Blacksmith Initiative. They undertook this research from August 2024 to September of this year, and this is what they are finding out.
What more do we want to know at this point? I remember speaking with Ola Sewa of Eco-Conscious Citizens, and one of the questions I asked her was, what does she think that, or what more does she think government wants to see before we as citizens also see some more decisive action? And she said, well, maybe when we're all no more, that will send home the message. So we've seen reports, we've seen the very gory pictures. Man, I don't know if you've come across this viral photo of a deformed, no longer fetus, I'll call baby.
Yeah.
From one of them,
from one of the mining communities.
Devastating. I don't know what else we are looking to see. What more stats? We're told none of the food that we enjoy and we like is free from
Contomere says they give us a lot of blood, actually. Now the mojadro for the poor is now poison.
I'm telling you, the cassava, I'm not sure I know anybody that doesn't like a nice hot steaming bowl of fufu. Hot one. Look at this weather. See how nice and cool it is.
Yeah.
Those of you who have some good lunch spots around, we have some nice hot steaming fufu joints around us. Misro, the cassava.
You don't know where it's coming from.
And it's most likely, before it gets to Agbogbolo, it's come from these areas. Where else is it coming from? Where else is it coming from? We are walking faster towards our graves. The Nyadwa. Those of you who like a good garden eggs stew, even for the likes of your fufu is contaminated.
And you say, when the water is brown, we can see it. When the metal is in, you can't see it.
You can't see it. You know, it takes, what is it, about 1,000 years to eliminate some of these heavy metals, mercury.
Oh my goodness.
So it's in your water. It is taking you, in our lifetime,
this is existential threat.
In your lifetime, the mercury is not going to leave the water. We are already at the point of no return, the point at which it is simply too late. So I'm not surprised that we're being furnished with more of this information, more of this intel. We've seen so much, we've heard so much, and of course this adds to the mercury and heavy metals impact assessment.
I think we have the report, so
That's
perhaps
right.
we'll go through it in terms of what it is that we found.
Yes.
Obviously, we've seen the project team and the work that they've done, but the scope of work, they covered, is it 7 regions? So Eastern, Western, Ashanti, Central, Western North, and then Savannah region. So it's Western North and not Western region.
That's right.
And they were looking at toxic metals and environmental media assessed. They looked at our soil, water, crops, fish, and even air. So there's a likelihood that in some of these mining areas, the air they breathe also could be contaminated with some of these heavy metals as
That's
well.
right.
So in terms of the site, which is on page 11, I mean these mining sites they were in, or the areas they were in the western region. They were in 2 places. Wasa Keyanko Banchiasi, Ankobra Community Mining Pristia. Then they were in the Ashanti region, Konongo Dumasi and Konongo Zongo. Then Nyamebechre Obuasi Municipal, they were there as well. In the Savannah region, they were at Dakrupe and then Tenga. In the Eastern region, they were at Isiakwa A and B and then Osino. And yesterday I was mentioning that I was at Osino for a funeral. Was it 3 years ago? Was it 2 years ago? And I could openly see the people mining when I went there. And
Feely.
yes, you see them. I mean, they're in the communities. That's why I make reference always to the fact that on the ground, it looks like the feeling is very different when we sit in Accra and we're having
It's
the
just
conversation.
an ordinary day.
They're going to work.
That's right.
Pretty simple. Then you come to the central region. They had Akwaboso, and then in the western north region, so there's western and western north. I have to correct myself again. Lake Amponsa Bibieni. These were the areas they were at. I don't know if we should get into sampling, but
Yes.
you see pictures of the soil and everything that they captured. If you get a copy of this report, and there are pictures of the soil samples and everything, and then the water sampling as well. They scooping water, taking the contumely. That's contumely they are picking and going to use for. And then they had fish as well. They took fish samples, and there's evidence of all of these if you look at the report before they took it to the labs, and then they conducted the investigation. Then there was mercury vapor concentration in air.
What page are you on, Mauna?
I'm on 21 out of 44.
Okay, because just before you even get to that down that far, I can see the contumely we're talking about. Now, the water sampling, very often, I'm on page 14. People say, I have a borehole, so forget. They sampled water bodies upstream, midstream, and downstream. Boreholes. Wells. So keep that in mind.
So
when
those
they
of
come
us,
out.
you are drilling boreholes in these mining areas, you are in deep trouble.
So
as well.
mine is deep from they sample
Nature
that as
is
well.
deep from nature, God.
Deep from nature, God. They sample that as well, and of course, we'll tell you what the results were. And also, quickly, I'm looking at page 17. At some of where the contumely is.
Yeah.
They had cereals, legumes, roots and tubers, vegetables and fruits. There's nobody here who can tell me they don't eat from a variety of these sources. Again, cereals, legumes, roots, tuber, vegetables, and fruits. Keep that in mind as well. Then, of course, you have the fish.
The fish sampling as well.
Okay, I'll move down then.
Yeah, so they targeted 7 fish samples from each site. This one looks like tilapia, but that's what it looks like.
Yes.
But then they took it to the lab, and the result is one that should scare everybody based on their findings. I don't know if we should start from 32 key findings mercury.
Yes.
So in Konongo Zongo Ashanti region, for instance, I can't read all of the scientific details they have, but the remark is simple: severe contamination.
So this is in the soil. They say soil Konongo Zongo, Ashanti region, severe contamination. I mean, they break it down into, I see some figures there. We are no scientists, but what they are telling us is the soil there is severely contaminated.
Then Konongo, Dumasi, Ashanti, Prestia, Western, and then Dakrupe in the Savannah region as well. In the soil, there is elevated levels indicating potential health risk. Elevated levels and then severe contamination. So in the soil proper, in these areas where the samples were taken, we're finding severe contamination, elevated levels, all causing or having the potential to cause health risk to us. That's one. Then we see water as well. Water they took from Isiakwa, Lake Amponsa, and Nyamebechre, 10 times above limit, poses risk to water bodies and aquatic ecosystems. Then in the air, I can't believe you don't engage in the mining activity. Perhaps you are importing your food from elsewhere when you live there. In the air, you are breathing in harmful metals as well. Good. That's the reality this latest report is seeking to reveal to us. And they find high diurnal variation linked to smelting activities. And so for a lot of the smelting that happens as a result of this mining and its related matters, there's a concentration there. So we don't see whether or not that's posing immediate severe risk to us, but there is a health risk as a result of that. Then the fish, all sites within safe limits, however, sample size insufficient for conclusive findings. Food crops, contemporary tomatoes, specific locations not mentioned. Detection of total Hg alone is not adequate for assessing health risk from food consumption. Methyl mercury speculation needed for risk. I think we lose a bit of the writing from there.
But the food crops in question, contemporary and tomatoes. And so that says detection of total Hg alone not adequate for assessing health risk from food consumption. Then you've got methyl mercury speciation needed for risk. I think the scientists have to tell us some more about that.
Yeah.
But that's
we're trying to get one of the individuals behind this investigative work, but for those of us struggling to break down the scientific jargons, there's a conclusion that's captured, which details for us fully what it is that's at play, and it starts off with the significant mercury contamination, which is the Hg, right? So I think that's the the periodic table. Mercury is Hg. You're
taking me back to the classroom.
Because that's what I've seen. So quickly it comes to mind. Okay. There's alarmingly high levels in the Ashanti region, particularly at Konongo, Dumasi, and Zongo.
What page are you on, Mauna?
So I'm on 37. Conclusion. Right. On conclusion. On conclusion, we're seeing that there's alarmingly high levels in the Ashanti region on mercury concentration, that is, or contamination, particularly at Konongo, Dumasi, and Zongo, indicating serious health and environmental risks. So that's the place. Then on lead, there's concerning lead levels, elevated concentration in the Savannah and western regions, which may pose risk to nearby communities as well. I think you want to just continue.
Yes. And then also we have elevated and widespread arsenic levels. Elevated and widespread arsenic levels. High levels, beg your pardon, the weather. Let's blame it on the weather. Elevated and widespread arsenic levels. High levels across the Ashanti region highlight the urgent need for remediation and regulatory action. Then you've got cadmium concerns, generally low in soil but elevated in water and fish at Akwaboso, indicating bioaccumulation risks that require monitoring. Now you have Arsenic found in all matrices across all sites, especially in the Ashanti and Western regions. Localized contamination, you've got mercury, lead, cadmium found in soil, found in water, found in fish, and found in food crops. Somebody just sent me a message that today you guys are reading chemistry. It's not easy. Journalism, kakra, chemistry, kakra.
We're just trying to paint the picture for you, even as we're joined on the phone right now by Daryl Bosu with Arocha Ghana on what this problem that we have on our hands is. He is the Deputy National Director, Operations at Arocha Ghana. Daryl is joining us on the phone. And Daryl, we've just been trying to go through what this latest research has put together by the Environmental Protection Agency, the UK International Development, and Pure Earth is revealing to us. Some of these, I believe you already know about because you've been sounding the alarm bells for quite a while.
Good morning to you and good morning to your team. And I would want to say that, yes, I have been listening and paying attention to all the reports that are coming out. But like you said, this is not new to us. I mean, as far back as 2016, I remember we did some soil and water analysis of the landscape within that area. And when we presented the information to the stakeholders, I remember the community getting very angry at the EPA representative who was at the meeting and the Minerals Commission, because their complaint was that you did not tell us that if we give out our land for mining, this is going to be the consequences or the impact of the mining on our land eventually, and that we cannot even grow crops, at least for the next 10 years, until the heavy metal pollution is remediated. So this issue has been with us for a long time, and it has actually been one of the causes of our concern in the sense that we always see the obvious impact of mining, where the land is degraded or devastated, forests removed and all of that. But behind all of that, there has been a serious pollution, very pervasively going on for a long time, and nobody has bothered to pay attention to the research, to the information that is out there. But I'm very happy to hear that now a lot of people are shedding light on this report and implication of heavy metals. I always say that in 10 years' time, if we are not already there, because since we started talking about these issues of impact of illegal mining and irresponsible mining, most people have experienced a lot of effects, but we have not done very well to do a direct correlation with whether it is as a result of pollution and all of that. But communities close to very large-scale companies, like around the Kenya area, dams, so some communities already experience some of it. So the impact of illegal mining in terms of the heavy metal exposure, risks, and all of that has been known. There is a reason why the international community signed a convention called the Minamata Convention on Mercury Prevention. Now, that whole convention came about as a result of mercury contamination and pollution of a community in Japan that was called Minamata. And as a result, seeing how serious the implication was, the international community said, we are not going to sit down, let's start taking measures to already prevent future risks. But unfortunately, looks like Ghana has not learned from any of these things. We only signed the Minamata Convention in 2017, but our land have long been polluted by illegal and irresponsible mining for quite a long time. So for me, even though I'm happy this report is coming out, I'm asking myself, have we not already been exposed too much? And so far, I shudder to think that this report, we talk about it, it should be in the news and all of that, but nothing really in terms of remediation will be commenced to start ensuring that we fix this pollution and deal with it, because that is where the risk is. We know the report has come out, we are talking about it, but will the government take action? We are already way long overdue where we should have started taking action on the chemical pollution to our rivers, to our forest lands, to our soils and everything. So with all of these things about our food being contaminated, I think we've been sounding the alarm bells for a long time. I'm happy that EPA themselves have been very proactive, got onto the ground, picked data and trading. Today we are meeting Kano stakeholders within the town of Guinea, also discussing the same issues. And it will shock you. It is not only the areas that the state is focused on, all across the country where money is happening. I wouldn't be surprised that the information or the news that will be as devastating as we know these areas that the state is focused on. So I think it's really an alarming situation. And I am keen to see how the government responds and how stakeholders respond, the EPA themselves. As I sharing the information, how are they going to respond to ensure that we find solutions and fix the mess before it becomes a big risk to our health in the future?
And what must this response look like? Because you by yourself, you say you're meeting a number of stakeholders in an area today. Is it the case that in this response, perhaps we should be drawing the attention of persons within these mining areas as well, of the dangers that exist to them? Citing the example you gave of persons saying they didn't know this was going to be the after effect of mining, hence, otherwise they wouldn't have given out their lands.
You see, I think the solution lies with leadership making sure that the right things are done. And that is why we have always been saying that there is no way we should continue to allow illegal and irresponsible mining to persist, because it eventually leads to some of the risks that we are talking about now. So to move forward, we definitely need to get good grips on this menace, deal with it. And then there is now the need for us to then go to the ground and see how we can remediate ourselves. There are solutions for soil remediation and also for water remediation when it comes to heavy metal contamination and all of that. They are not cheap solutions, and we need to be prepared for that. And that is actually one of the key reasons that we say, look, if you allow illegal and irresponsible mining to continue, it's going to come back eventually to affect your pockets. Not only the pockets of the people close to the areas where these lands are destroyed or their water bodies polluted, but even the coffers of the government, because now the government will have to spend money to buy chemicals, to get consultancies and all of that, find other partnerships with other international community experts and all of that to start cleaning our rivers, start cleaning our soil. So we definitely have a long way to go. And the solutions are there, but the question is, can we afford it? I mean, you have already been hearing about several millions of dollars to deal with the degraded lands and all of that, and even restore the forest as we need to. Now, there's another cost also with the contamination. I think already we've talked about the fact that Ghana Water Company has mentioned in the past that, look, our water is treated and make sure it's clean, but they don't even treat it for these heavy metals and also it's also in our water. And the fact is, we are not taking these metals out of our water yet. So the question is, do we have the resources to even pay for these services? So with all the money we claim we are making within the gold value chain, at the end of the day, we, the citizens and all stakeholders, will have to pay, take the receipts and the bills, and then eventually pay the cost. Otherwise, I don't know how we are going to live a healthy life as citizens going forward. We eventually have to pay the cost amount.
And now persons are paying the costs already in different ways and forms. Coming back to that vigil, and still on the conversation of what we're having, you were there yourself. Is it the case that we're not realizing how serious this is in terms of young persons or the citizenry in general, and being able to turn up in our numbers to demand a bit more in terms of action from our government based off on these revelations and understandings that is coming out every now and then?
I think we have not been very serious. We have not been focused on the money we are getting from the gold. Even government is focused on the money we are getting from gold. Nobody has been concerned. Previous administrations focused on the gold, and nothing was done in terms of solutions to deal with it. The situation has become entrenched and really escalated, and the current government is also dragging its feet because they're talking about how much they make from gold and all of that. So I think, my brother, the issue is about the fact that, look, we have not been concerned about it. We've not paid attention to it. Everybody has been going about their day-to-day business, their day jobs, not caring. But gradually and slowly but surely, our rivers, our food have been polluted and has been continuing for a long time. So it's not going to be something we're going to do in a short time. It's going to take quite a long haul for us to really deal with it. And yes, I think that citizens, if nothing has pushed them, I hope the fact that our food is exposed, our water is exposed, even the health rates exposed and all of that, will cause them to now have a conscience and compel themselves to do the right thing. I think this is what we need to do. As a country, we need to start having a conscience and really start thinking about the long-term welfare of every citizen. I think our lives matter much more than the gold, and the gold will eventually finish. I fear what Ghana will do if the gold is finished, our land is degraded, and our water bodies is not wholesome enough for us to even drink. Then where will we even get the money to be paying for all the services that we will need? So there is really, and I think it has been a lot of negligence. It's about time we really wake up if we have been in a slumber. So I think for me, that's something that we need to pay attention to.
Let's talk finally on the costs involved in terms of all of this, because you've mentioned that there's a high price to pay in terms of removing or treating the soil and removing these heavy metals. In all of our conversations, it's just been about the government taking decisive action and very little about the heavy metal concentration that we have already. Now we're being told that the food produce on the market has these heavy metal concentration. What can we begin to do? Even as we're fighting on the front of a declaration of a state of emergency, fighting that the illegal activities stop, we can't just be arguing or pushing for the illegality to stop whilst the food that is going on the market, more and more people will be sick as a result of it. What can we do? Is there a way where community members can begin to find a way to see if they can treat their soil and be able to produce good enough food, at least so they can be healthy and continue against the fight against the illegality?
Okay, so I think we already have challenges with having a very robust monitoring system. And I think what we can do right now is to make sure that all mining lands that are degraded, we already prohibit people from cropping on them in the first place. This has been some of the key concerns raised in the past already, that look, people are planting food crops on mined out lands or abandoned mine sites. We need to stop them as soon as possible. I mean, this call has gone out to MOFA, has gone out to the various assemblies, and nobody has taken heed. And that is how come now food in the system. You definitely can guarantee if it's coming from a mining hotspot area, you really have to pay attention to where exactly the food is coming. Unfortunately, there is no way you can do traceability for where your food comes from. We all go to a market and buy or something when we are traveling on the highways. We buy from the roadside and all of that. We are very mindful of the fact that, look, there is contamination in certain areas and this food can be contaminated, and also the fact that we don't know where the food is harvested from. Then we need to be very careful. So for me, I think that to start with, let's revisit that earlier recommendation. All abandoned mine sites must be prohibited from any farmer going to take over and cropping it. It is very, very important. Now, you cannot really go and say that, look, there should be nationwide testing of all the food on the market. Maybe also that will help us to know that, look, really, there were certain locations that will take the information on contamination, but if you come to the bigger market, the central market, and all of that, there's already contaminated food in the market system. So I think it's something we need to do. As for the remediation activity, like I said, it's not something that will take a year or two. It will take time and a lot of monitoring to make sure that we are at that point. So we better start now if the state, then we need to treat it as an emergency, because our food system is as written order, treat it as urgently as we can. Then that is the only way for me, I think, that it will compel us to start really putting in place certain measures. There needs to be a convening of very high-level convening to see how we deal with it.
You have no coal credit.
Right then, unfortunately, a technical mishap, and so we've lost Darrell on the phone lines. We'll try and perhaps have him return and round up the conversation for us just quickly. But it is very concerning, very, very concerning that of the many things that should not be happening, the concern that's been raised about persons growing food on abandoned mining sites. That's a recipe for absolute disaster. And the fact that Darryl mentions that that's one of the first things we should be looking at, stopping people from growing food on abandoned mining sites or reclaimed mining sites. And from what he says, it appears nobody is paying attention to that. Then that immediately is like nobody cares about what we are eating and the fact that what we are eating could be killing us.
Something I find quite interesting, beg your pardon, this weather, is that food that's coming from, we can make this quite competitive. You often hear persons in the Volta region who are farming and growing crops saying, come and buy from us. We have some good crops there. We are not ravaged by Galamsey. We have some good food there. If we start to make this quite competitive, other regions will say, right, well, we're losing out. If we don't clamp down, if we don't also get up in arms about Galamsey, then people will stop buying from us. Because if it gets to a point where I say, hey, according to these reports, they're saying I'm going to this region, I'm buying it from here. It can get competitive. Maybe that's another angle to also explore as far as the food is concerned.
I see the vision in what you're pushing, because you can't be having the food coming and openly everybody knows that this thing, it is going to kill you.
And yet you even swallow the fufu calmly for? I mean, every time you're thinking.
At some point last year, I stopped eating banku because there was a report Irama Smith did in the Western region, where you see the water brown. It's pure Galamsey water. They were using it to treat cassava before they turn it into dough, and then they bring it into our markets. The women fetch the very brown water, pour it in a barrel, then they pour alum on it. Then after a while, all the sediment settles at the bottom. Then it looks clean, and they begin to use it to treat the cassava dough and then acheke that ends up on the market, which people enjoy. And I was like, Lord of mercy.
Because the alum only clears it. It just clears. It doesn't do
anything. It just makes the water look neat. It doesn't even qualify for the treatment Ghana water does, which we are saying is not enough. It just clears it, and then they'll do that. They'll package the cassava dough. Then it is on its way to Accra. As to which market it ends up in, I don't know.
Then you paired with some nice tilapia that has also been swimming in some mercury and lead infested waters, paired with what? The vegetables that we're told are also contaminated. Yes. And so your whole plate. So
I saw evidence of the cassava dough. I was like, Jesus, I can't.
But you've gone back to eating banku. Get well soon.
But Darryl has joined us just to wrap up on the conversation. Darryl, sorry we lost you just briefly. You were rounding up for us so that we can move on.
Sure. No, so I think what I want is that we need to already get very serious. We need to treat it with every urgency that it deserves and quickly see how we can address. So now we're not getting to stop the illegal mining from happening. We also need to start looking at how we make our food and water wholesome enough. And that will require a lot of investment, both investment in cleaning the water and also in cleaning the lands. And immediately, I think what we can do is to make sure nobody goes back to some of these abandoned mine sites and start cropping. I'm afraid that now, because farmers are also constrained with the availability of land, anytime they see land that has been mined and leveled, they're quickly moving to take over. And this is how come we're having some of these food crops in the system that has been recorded. So I think we need to prioritize this issue with all the agencies deserve and work on them.
But did you say the attention of the Food and Agric Ministry has been drawn to this and respective agencies, and no action is being taken to at least prevent farmers from going on to these reclaimed lands and abandoned Galamsey or mining areas, and yet no action in terms of a decisive nature is being taken to stop this?
Yeah, I can say for certainty that MOFA knows about some of these issues, because at various meetings by different institutions across the country, some of this information has been made available. They themselves are aware. They have several programs in certain districts where they themselves are coordinating how to deal with the restoration activities. So they know about these risks already. They don't need to be told. But the question has been, have they responded? Have they taken measures to prevent it from happening? So it's something, a bigger discussion that we need to have, and I think that the state must prioritize and making sure that we don't continue to allow this to subsist.
Right then, I'm sure this is a subject matter that we certainly should pick up on and begin to trumpet a bit more. Exactly. Stopping people from going into these areas to crop is surely one of the ways we can begin to at least stem the tide in terms of the food that is poisoned and on our market. Yeah. Darryl, thank you as always. Thank you as always for connecting with us. That's Darryl Bosu speaking to us with Arocha Ghana, and we were making the point. I mean, I need a bit of saving because I've returned to the bank. You can. That's a challenge. That's the food you eat every day.
What are you going to eat?
That's the kasa. I like fufu.
Same.
You can't say that you not go and get yourself a nice hot bowl of fufu on a day like this where it's been raining all throughout the morning, and yet the evidence which is being like brought out on a daily is that you are eating poison.
That's right.
And yet you can't do anything about it. No, the Galamsey conversation. We need to. I mean, something has to be done. It just cannot be things cannot be the way it is. That we wake up every day and the porridge, because they will bring different ingredients from wherever God knows.
That's right.
The wache you're eating, whatever, you could be eating poison.
All of that. You listened to the report that we read. Vegetables, fruits, legumes, roots, tubers, cereals, all under attack, all things that we eat on a daily, all part of our staple diet. So that is why we are unrelenting on the conversation about Galamsey. What is happening can only be described as eco-terrorism and ecocide. And we go even beyond talking about Galamsey or illegal mining. Irresponsible mining is also certainly on the table. It's not everybody that's engaged in Galamsey that doesn't have or engaged in this demise of our environment that doesn't have a license to do so. You have licensed miners who are going beyond the scope of what they are supposed to do, where they are supposed to mine, how close the water bodies, and so on and so forth. So we also have to expand the tentacles of this conversation and also talk about irresponsible mining, so we don't overlook those that have the permits to do so. They're also on the table. They're also part of this discussion. You might have a license, but how responsible is the mining that you're doing? As a people, do we decide that we'll get our money elsewhere because the mining is simply not worth it? You open the door or you give an inch, people take 10.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it's a conversation we have every morning, and sometimes you ask yourself, how long can we continue to ask the same things, to demand of our government of the same things? And yesterday somebody called in and said that he had been monitoring a number of media outlets for the morning, and everybody was talking about the same thing, the activities of illegal mining. Also because there was a protest march of some sort. But I mean, when reports like these continue to come every now and then, look, when you pick your phone to call either to chastise, support government efforts and all of that, the realization you must have is that whatever side you are on, you are mining in the pits, you are doing whatever, the food you are eating is poisoned, and you're shortening your life on this earth.
That's right.
If you are in a community where the mining is taking place and you're not even directly benefiting from, you're even worse off, because in the mining areas, even if you dig a well, you're not safe.
Even if you open your nose,
you are not safe
because it's in the air.
So it is a more serious conversation. When people describe it as terrorism, that's the most appropriate word you can use, and that's why when civil society groups like Darryl Bosu and the likes mention that, look, the state of emergency ought to come. What more do we need in terms of being able to protect lives and property? What more do we need?
You talk about the terrorism aspect of it. Now, we know that those engaged in this menace are armed. We're told, according to reports, matching security personnel boot for boots. There's ammunition, there's arms, and then also this added leg of illicit drug use. You have you've got 4 million Ghanaians, we're told, according to the report. Who made that report? It'll come to me. That depend on the Galamsey economy. So those that are selling food in and around the pit, selling water, selling drinks, selling...
Abrewa Ninkran was an entire village. Until the military... We need to find out, and we need to get an update, because from the last time the last raid happened, apparently there had been raids in previous years, and yet the people returned there, and it is an entire village.
That's right.
Of illegal miners. They cook, they shop, they do. Like, if you want to mine illegally, this is the hub for you. Come and stay with us.
And we're told that's the real 24-hour economy. They are running all hours of the day and night. So if you think about it, 4 million Ghanaians depending on a Galamsey economy, from the mining, from the selling of food, and then you have the issue of the illicit drug use. We are deep in this canker. We haven't even begun to scratch the surface. Yes, a lot is being said about NIMOS that this government instituted and what work they're doing day in, day out. We are seeing some arrests. I forget the total figure of the people that have been arrested. But have we also thought, okay, we're told that we're being poisoned with mercury and lead. Are we able to trace who is purchasing all this mercury? Are we asking the right questions? Who?
Yeah.
The mercury, I don't think it's that cheap. And all these other chemicals, who is purchasing this chemical?
You should be able to follow that trail as well.
What are they using it for? When you bring in these high...
Who is importing mercury into the country?
Who is importing this? When we go to the financial side of things, are we looking at certain bank accounts? That person who is ordering 10 or so excavators, are we going back and checking? Are we putting any onus there on, say, Bank of Ghana? That, hey...
You're making funding available. You're making dollars, which... crashes us. You are making it available
to certain people, and they are purchasing certain things. Are your alarm bells not sounding off? Are your alarm bells not ringing? Even like I said, let's even stick with the mercury and the lead. You're not a scientist. You're not, I don't know, but you are importing these things. You are buying these things. Why is nobody's antenna pinging off? Or, like we always say, is it a case of political interference? Would you begrudge anybody from having that as a conclusion because you are seeing it? You know the correlation between this mercury and what we're seeing now. Why is there silence on that front? There are so many different legs to explore, and all we're doing is catching the small boys in the pits. Where are their financiers? Where are the kingpins?
Helen, let me just hold you. Professor Benedicta Yaira Fosu-Mensah, she's the acting director at the Institute for Environment and Sanitation Studies at the University of Ghana. She's as well joining us on the phone lines this morning on the topic of we are eating poison. We're eating Galamsey, drinking Galamsey, a poison people. We're just waiting to die. Prof, good morning to you. I appreciate you joining us, and I trust that all is well with you as well.
Yeah, good morning. By God's grace, I'm doing well. But to put it on record that I'm not the acting director. We have a new director now. Thank you.
Right. That's in order, and I appreciate the correction as well. But Prof, you're joining us because of the importance of this conversation. We've seen a latest report put together by the Environmental Protection Agency along with other partners, detailing how the food we're eating, the water we're drinking, the air we're breathing even is contaminated with heavy metals. Where do we begin to even start from in terms of getting a full grasp of what is happening to us as a people?
Yeah, good morning once again to our cherished listeners. I want to say that the issue about Galamsey and its effect on food quality is something that has been discussed for some time now. And the data is there to support the fact that Galamsey is not just affecting the environment, but it's also affecting human health. Now, when you analyze most of the food that we eat, especially those from the mining or areas that Galamsey is taking place, there is much evidence or enough evidence that shows that most of these heavy metals are picked up by the food that farmers cultivate. And when we eat it, our body bioaccumulates them. Now, the earth naturally contains some minerals, including these heavy metals, but then the level that naturally is in the soil is within acceptable limits. But it is when it goes beyond the acceptable limit, that is when it becomes toxic to man. Analysis of most staple food and vegetables that we eat indicates that they are far above the WHO limit. And that means that as we eat this food, we bioaccumulate these things in our bodies. And these have health implications. But hospital data shows that there is an increase in cases of kidney failure, cases of liver disease, and even deformities in fetus or deformities in newly born babies. And these have some linkages to exposure to this heavy metal.
Hello, Prof. Are you with us still?
Yes, hello.
Yes.
Yes, so for example, there was some research done. Some samples were actually brought to our laboratory, but earlier on, some of our students tried to look at heavy metal levels across some mining areas to see how polluted is our water bodies and also the food that we eat, the quality of the food. And it shows that most of the samples that were brought to the laboratory, the levels of some heavy metals like lead, cadmium, and mercury were far above the WHO limit, which means that when we eat it, we are exposed to some of the effects of these metals, as I indicated,
right.
Effects such as
kidney failures,
like developmental delay in children, effects of IQ of children being reduced, or it affects the IQ of children, issues of memory loss, and even our hemoglobin. We have some challenges with that. So if you're exposed, for example, if you're an adult and you're exposed to some of these heavy metals, you easily become weak, or you are always fatigued, you are always tired. We have issues of cardiovascular illness or disease as a result of these exposures. So the data is there to support the fact that Galamsey is not just affecting the environment, but our health as well. Now, I always say Ghana, yes, we are treated to IPCC and we talk about climate change and its effect on man. And we always go to, these international conferences to talk about, yes, how the developed world needs to support the developing countries because their actions and inaction is having detrimental effect on developing countries. Because though we contribute insignificantly to climate change as a result of our emission, but research shows that the effect of climate change will be high, or the impact will be high on developing countries, including Ghana. And so they need to support us. But whilst we are doing this, things that mitigate climate change, things that would reduce CO2, which is part of the greenhouse gases, include planting of trees, including sustaining the trees that we have, including keeping green environment, because these are the sinks to carbon. They are the ones that support the removal of carbon from the atmosphere, including certain gases or some gases. And so when we cut down trees, when we destroy trees as a result of Galamsey, what we are doing is emitting more CO2 into the atmosphere. What we are doing is also contributing again to this climate change that each time we talk about, we need to mitigate climate change. And so the issue of Galamsey, I think, is a major challenge. Now, Ghana Water Company is complaining about not being able to get the right quantity of water at the right quality to be able to treat and supply to individuals. We know that climate change already has impact on water security. And so if the little that we have, we are contaminating it, it means that very soon Ghana will become water insecure. And I mean, this has a lot of implications on human health. Then people are forced to drink, poor quality water. People are exposed to all kinds of diseases because our surface water have been destroyed as a result of Galamsey. In fact, the issue of Galamsey has, I don't know, it's now, I don't know what to say, but it's becoming, or it now looks like how to, the issue of fighting drugs, the issue of fighting cocaine. It's like there are some cartels in the system, that seems to be quite difficult to fight as a people. But I think that we need to really
shouldn't this
how to really handle
Prof, shouldn't this be a basis upon which we can look on and say that there's a justification for a declaration of a state of emergency, considering all of these present challenges with Galamsey? And the fact that outside of the environmental destruction, it is fast after our lives as well.
Yes, well, the issue about state of emergency, though may help fight the issue, but it is not the ultimate solution. I'm saying so because state of emergency is like stop mining. But are we going to say we will stop mining completely? I think the issue is to really fight Galamsey from the home. There are some cartels in the system that are financing these individuals. When we go and we arrest the people in the pit, the young guys, the people who are operating this machine, we are not solving the problem. Because when you arrest these individuals or the young guys in the pit, all that the cartels need to do is to recruit new guys. And so we will not be solving the problem. And I think that is why we are not able to fight Galamsey up to this point, because we are not tackling the issue. It's like you having a disease and instead of or you are having a symptom, instead of trying to identify the cause of that symptom, you are not doing that. All you are doing is just, trying all medication to cure the symptom that you are having. That does not solve the problem. But what we need to do is to identify this cartel, because I believe that it's a cartel that is working in the system. So though government is putting in a lot of effort to stop these mining or illegal mining, the cartels have, I mean, when we talk about fighting drugs, that is where we are as a country in dealing with Galamsey. It's like the Galamsey has become a cartel. And I'm saying that we can always fight it when we identify these cartels. We identify and handle the cartel by going to the forest and arresting these young guys may not, though it to some extent, yes,
Prof,
it's
that's already happening. We are arresting more and more people. NIMOS is arresting people, and that is a part of the effort. A state of emergency, many argue, will bring an enhanced approach where the forest, the water, and all of that becomes an immediate no-go area. There's a lot of power as well given, and Sixus was saying rights can be suspended so that lives can be saved. And if you're a miner, whether you belong to a cartel, the ringleaders, whomever, they can suspend your rights to ensure that the lives of the rest of us as Ghanaians is protected. And that's the demand that is being asked of the current administration.
Yes, well, I agree with you, but you see, these illegal mining are happening at certain areas that have owners of the concession. I am not so sure if the illegal mining is just happening on like a free zone or a no man's land. It's happening in some concession. Who are the owners of this concession? The excavators are coming into the country through our ports. Who are the owners of these excavators? I think these are things that we need to tackle. And as I said, if a fish is spoiling, it's spoiling from the head. And so if you want to treat or prevent the fish from spoiling, you need to start looking at what you need to do to protect the head from getting spoiled. And that is one of the points that we need to look at as a country. Who are the owners of these concessions? I believe that if I have a concession, which of course I may not be nowhere near having any, if I have a concession, I will not just sit and allow somebody from nowhere to come into my concession and mine illegally, and I will sit and watch. So if somebody is mining on my concession, the person has my consent to do that.
Right.
And so if we want to fight these people that are mining illegally because they are using illegal way of getting the gold, then we need to go after the owner of the concession. If an excavator is working as a place, we can identify the owner of that excavator, because I believe when the excavator came into the country, there are records. Just like you have a car, there are records that this car number, this belongs to Mr. A or Mr. B. And so if the car is involved in any criminal act, you need to go into DVLA system and identify the owner of that car.
Right.
And then search for the person to arrest the person. And so I will say, yes, people are talking about state of emergency. Let's put an end to this. But for how long can we do that? But if we want to really tackle Galamsey, then we can tackle it by identifying this cartel, because I see it as a cartel because it's like fighting bots. And we all know how difficult it is. There are times the chain of command is so long that to get even the real owner, you have to deal with multiple of people before you get to the right owner of that drug. And that is what is happening with this Galamsey. But I know Ghana, we have all men of integrity, men who have all the intellect to investigate and identify the cartel in this act and get them arrested. Because look, the environmental cost of this illegal mining is far more than the economic benefit.
Absolutely.
$2 and saying that yes, that is all. But look, the human resource that we may be accepting because of these illegal mining, the health implication is far more than the economic benefit. And I think that as a country, we all need to come on board,
Prof,
and find these, and even identify these individuals and probably report them to the authorities that are handling this.
Prof, just quickly, you mentioned excavators and the fact that they come through the port. Help us or educate us. Mercury mercury, which they use in, is it tracing or catching the gold and all of that. Do we produce that in large quantities here? How does mercury get into the country as well? Because we should be tracing the sources of how mercury is ending up into our country and in such large volumes that it is poisoning all of our water bodies and our soil.
Yeah, so exactly. So these are some of the things. Yeah, mercury, we do not produce mercury here in this country. Very important. So again, that's where we need to go to our books to check who are the importers of these chemicals. Who are the people behind these chemicals? And so that's why I'm saying that there are ways that we can really trace these corporates, because if our ports have the right record, that means that if somebody imports something, assuming it's even imported illegally, they should be able to check containers. I mean, before your container is given to you, I know the customs do inspection and then try to really verify if what you stated is what is in the container. And we should be able to identify these individuals to know if you are importing mercury, if you are importing lead into the country, what is the intention or what is the purpose of these chemicals, especially at a period or a time that we are fighting illegal mining. We know that the Galamseyers or illegal miners use these chemicals. Who are the people that import this? And what is the intention? And so, again, the port should be able to help us. Probably, I don't know whether Food and Drug Board, they may also have records of these information. And then we'll be able to tackle. If we are able to pick up maybe 3 or 4 corporates, not the people in the pit, but the financiers of these activities, I think we may make a huge impact than just going to fight the people. And, you know, there are times it's like we are not making headway, because even before the security people get to the site, these individuals may get a hint that, hey, right, they are coming, and then even run away. You know, earlier on, we're fighting them during the day. And it came to a point they were not working during the day. So while the security men are sleeping, or we are all sleeping in the night, that is where they are working. So it's really a challenge. Now, as I said, you are given a concession, and your concession is used used for illegal activity. I think your license should be withdrawn from you, because you are supposed to protect your concession. Right. And it means people are mining with your consent. So these are the approaches I think we need to go, or we need to approach to really be fighting, to be able to fight this. Yes, you talk about state of emergency, that we need to allow the land, you know, to rest,
to heal itself, the land ought to heal,
revive itself. But for how long can we wait? How long can we allow the environment to be able to revive itself? But I believe that if we are able to tackle the financiers, the people who are behind importation of excavators, the people who are behind the importation of lead, of cadmium, these are people that we need to pick up. If within the port,
right,
we are not able, then we should even be able to question the people at the post, especially at the time when we say we are all fighting Galamsey. Right, you don't allow in excavators without record of it. You do not allow in people to bring dangerous chemical like lead, mercury into the country.
Right, Prof.
If we're able to handle this, I think we would make a lot of impact.
Prof, I appreciate you speaking to us. We have to bring the conversation to an end here. Professor Benedicta Yayira Fusu-Mensah is with the Institute for Environment and Sanitation Studies at the University of Ghana. I appreciate you joining us, and I'm sure these are valuable points. Helen, it comes to the argument you were making about how these are getting into the country, and it does appear.
Surprise, surprise! What did the Prof say? We don't have mercury here. We don't produce it here. It
cadmium. We don't put. Somebody is bringing it in.
Can
There's
we not
business.
just trace who is bringing the mercury here and for what purpose? Are you a professor? Are you in the science field? Why are you bringing mercury here? So some questions that need to be answered. Although interestingly, Prof says that it was not about a state of emergency at this point. Well, we live to see.
Well, we'll go for another round of commercials just quickly. When we return, we'll get into our second leg of the conversation. But there's something that's coming your way, the luckiest. It's a season of winning again, and it's not just anything. Dial *1